Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Not Too Comic Book. This being a show where I talk about TV shows that are adaptations of comic books. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the series finale of iZombie, an incredible series finale. A lot of wonderful things to kind of get into about this episode, so let's break it down. Well, first and foremost, there's that whole scene on the plane where it's like, okay, obviously they're a little panicked because even Liv, it's like, okay, the lady that, TSA was looking at her, or it was, I forgot, it was either I want to say it was like TSA or whatever. She was saying like someone was looking at her for 30 minutes, so she was getting a little nervous maybe to recognize her. But then you had the lady that's literally sitting beside her. That's like, oh, where do I know you from? It's like, do I know you from? It's like, nah, you don't. But I like, because obviously there's that thing, I get that too, where it's like, oh, you recognize someone and it bothers you. Obviously I wouldn't probably say that verbally, I'll probably keep that inside of my head, but she keeps, no, I recognize you for some. I even love the whole thing is she starts Googling like The Good Place, and it's like, oh, she must think, like Liv starts texting Ravi and Clive. It's like, oh my God, she must think that I'm, she it's like, oh, she must think that I'm Kristen Bell, and then you have Ravi looking like, really? I don't see that. And it's like, well, she's gonna be sorely disappointed. He texts that and Liv's looking at it and she's like, wait, kind of got that look like, why would she be disappointed? Which is like, I guess maybe, I wonder, is that kind of an inside joke because maybe people have said that. I don't think Rose McIver or Kristen Bell even look remotely like. I'm sure that's just kind of me overthinking it. I'm just wondering why that specifically, but I don't know. I just thought that was kind of funny because they don't look similar at all, in my personal opinion. But whatever. That's why I'm kind of wondering if it was just like some random celebrity they picked to kind of do that. But nevertheless, I love that. And it's like they tried to like give the lady like some medicine from this other dude, some pills to basically knock her out. So she stopped Googling and stuff like that. But the drinks get mixed up. Luckily, we ended up finding out they were right. But then you have like that flight attendant pick up the tablet and it's like, oh, it's got Liv's face on it. It's like, oh, Renegade. And it's like, oh no. And then like, it's like, oh, we're going to need you guys to wait a little bit. Then the cop gets up there. It's like, and then she starts pulling up Liv, Ravi, and Clive. I'm like, what? How did she know? What's going on? And it's like, no, it's okay. This is my brother. We're here to help because you actually helped get our little sister into Seattle. I'm like, yes. I'm like, yes. I jumped for joy. I was like, oh my God. The psych out where you're just like, oh, so nervous. That's the beauty of it. Because that showed you just like, obviously like the long running, like, everything kind of works out because of this good that Liv has done. So I just thought that was kind of beautifully done. There's a whole situation with Blaine. He's got Peyton because he's been like, what's his face? Blaine, Donnie is like trying to be like, oh yeah, he kind of has this like Beauty and the Beast thing going on where he wants you to kind of basically be with him or whatever. And it's so twisted because it's just like Blaine is so obsessed with Peyton, like even if it's against her will, he kind of wants her to be with him, and it's just I don't know whether he thinks like given enough time, like oh she'll see past, essentially using the Beauty and the Beast reference, which is funny when you actually think about it, just in the grand scheme of things. Once again, me overthinking because Beauty and the Beast was a TV show on the CW. Just funny, I once again overthinking things, but I just think that was kind of funny. But obviously, it's age old tale, whatever the case may be. It's not like they were specifically referencing that, but nevertheless. I just love that it's kind of like, oh, he thinks that probably she'll end up falling in love with him. I did love how they ended up managing to escape. Was kind of interesting because one of the Fraley kids pretended to be dead. I was like, once again, me overthinking things is like, that's a move. The moment like Peyton saw her bloody nose, I was like, and her laying there, like that's a page out of Isabel's book because that was her thing of like, I like to think that was them kind of continuing that to a certain extent of being like, oh yeah, like she used to pretend to be dead all the time and pissed everybody off because she did that. But in the end, it's like, they managed to get away, but Peyton got shot and it looks like she wasn't moving. But like I said, luckily because Blaine is obsessed with her, he didn't want her to die no matter what the circumstances may be, so he ended up scratching her, which is crazy to see her as a zombie and everything. I'm like, dude, probably would have never crossed my mind. I mean, because like her and Clive had been the only ones who managed not to become a zombie over the course of the series. Like obviously Robbie kind of borderlined that because of the cure he took at the end of season 3, but nevertheless, it was just kind of interesting. And at the end of it all, when you do say it, it's like Clive is the only one of the main characters who managed not to become a zombie. That's actually kind of pretty impressive. But regardless, it's like, once again, she's there, literal ball and chain. And once again, Donnie coming here to break the tension. He's like pretending to be Igor because it's like, oh, come bring us some wine. He's like, oh, yes, you'll love this. And lo and behold, Peyton has her first vision, but unfortunately, idiotic Blaine fed her Darcy's brain, and it's like, yeah, there was a woman that Blaine suffocated, and she was calling out your name. She was in a wedding dress. I was like, boom, yes. I was like, of course. I knew it had to be between Ravi and Donnie, who's going to be the one to go after Blaine, especially because Ravi was like, oh, I'm going to rip like all of them apart because he found out about Peyton from the kids that she ended up helping escape. But I love it, and it's just kind of like Blaine's kind of going on this contrived thing because he's sitting at the well. He's like, oh, someone comes up behind me with a gun to my head, or maybe even get like a squad, being shot at. The fact of the matter is, how you're proud of me now, Dad. The fact of the matter is, I lived life, so no matter what comes, I enjoyed it all, women and blah, blah, blah. And lo and behold, what ends up happening? Donnie knocks him into the well. I'm like, wow. Which is ironic considering the fact is, let's not forget that was the same well he'd had, like the whole contrived thing he's talking about is because it's like, oh, that's where he had put his dad before. And it's like, oh, and Donnie speaks the truth. It's like, literally everyone hates you. Peyton was never going to love you. Your dad never was going to love you. I was literally the only one that liked you. Liv comes over, knocks him into the well and everything. And it's like, you two are going to spend eternity together. I'm like, it's probably better that things turn out that way because now they're going to be stuck down there together, probably fighting it out. If they don't end up killing each other, they're both definitely going to go full-blown Romero. I doubt I kind of think that's their fate. Like, they're probably left down there, and I think that's justice, just because it's like, you don't even get to be yourselves anymore. All that you've done, Blaine. Am I wrong? Am I going to say, like, I wouldn't prefer it if Liv or Ravi had put them down? I don't know, but I think it is more poetic justice that you get to go full-blown Romero. You don't get to just live, and you're just lost forever, essentially. So it's actually kind of sad, but at the same time, you're like, once again, poetic justice. And then it's like Liv's crying because she thinks Peyton's dead, but Peyton's like, yo, sorry, it took me a while to kind of. It's like, yes, everyone's reunited. Major, Lieutenant Collins coming in with the win. She's backing up Major because not everyone, at the very least, she seems like she's the only one that was left in the organization that sided with Major. Maybe there were others, but at the very least, she seemed like she was the only one that's always been on his side. Obviously, Enzo ends up killing her later on, unfortunately, and it's just like, oh, that's so sad, And then there's the whole situation of just like, I even love the dude was kind of like Major, like he's like, take off your shirt. He's like, come on, I'm a modest guy. I love that. And then he sneaks away with some Max Rager, and basically their plan. He goes to Ravi. Ravi makes a cure, but he only makes one cure, and the plan is, okay, when it's all said and done, we're going to get this plan enacted. We need Johnny Frost to take the cure on live air so they can see, because he's a well-liked zombie, and if he takes it, he's going to look like an impartial party. It's like, oh, how do we prove it? A lot of that could be faked, so that's the whole point too. And then you have, all the while this is happening, Clive is rushing to Dale's side, which is adorable, because Dale doesn't want to have the baby until Clive gets there, and she's like, okay, Clive gets there, and Dale's like, okay, I'm ready to push. And I was like, oh, that's awesome. So along with all of that, it comes down to this moment like, okay, what do we do? And Major has an idea, and you can hear him leaving a message, and the way he's talking is like, it's a message for, I was like, what are you about to do, Major? And he plans to take the cure live, and then he's going to have Enzo shoot him and kill him to prove that he is human. I'm like, what? And then he's like, this way is like, what benefit would I have for making this whole statement and stuff like that? And Enzo ends up shooting him. I'm like, what? No! And then it's like, no, I was like, no, this can't be happening. I was like, are we really doing this? I was like, because I had that feeling last episode. I was like, dude, don't tell me that Major's not going to make it through this. Like I said, I had that feeling, but I was just like, no, don't. Come on, don't do this when we're kind of on the verge of potentially winning. Don't do this. And Ravi comes in and tackles Enzo, and Enzo starts beating him up, and Ravi's laughing. It's like, oh, if you were a zombie, you would have killed me by now. Looks like you're human now. And then home dude, what's his name? Jeremy? His husband was a boyfriend, ended up, that extremist group was behind, and he ends up killing Enzo, but he ends up immediately getting killed. And then I'm like, then Ravi was going over to Major. I'm like, no. I was like, and he's like, come on, bud. I was like, oh, you're trying to, he's gone, Ravi, no. And it's like, wait, what? And it's like, he's alive. I was like, what? It's like he switched, the vial he had given him was full of Max Rager. I'm like, yes! I was like, oh my God, because I won't lie to you, I was about to tear up, man. I was like, no. I was like, this can't be happening. Which is even sadder too, because Liv got the message and everything. Like, everyone was kind of, because even Clive had to call her to be like, yo, what happened to Major? Because she hadn't seen on TV yet, because her phone had died and everything. I was like, dude. And the fact is that Major was that, and that shows you what kind of person Major is, that he was willing to make that sacrifice. He didn't know Ravi had only gave him Max Rager, but that was so beautiful. I was like, yes! Of course he's not going to let his best bud die and sacrifice himself like that when there's another way. I love that. And there was even this moment too of like earlier in the episode where like Liv is talking to the kids. The kids are like, oh, so if there's going to be a cure, what happens to us? Like, if Oliver takes a cure, he's going to be like human again. And I'm like, oh man, like, because that's what I was thinking too. I was like, I was wondering how the show was going to handle that. Like, are you just going to completely get rid of zombieism, or is it going to be those who decide to take the cure can take the cure? But still, nevertheless, you know, even with all this stuff happening, things are still bad, because the dead enders are still going strong against Fillmore Graves. And then there's the whole situation of, you know, Dolly's leading the charge. Hell, one of the Fillmore Graves soldiers that's there is her son. He was burned. And I guess Dolly, in her own way of giving him, you know, helping him, in a way, she kills him. And it's like, oh, we're going to do this. Which is even more twisted, because they were killing, like, high-value targets, like Fillmore Grave people, because they had a whole bunch of deck of cards with, like, particular targets up there. Even some of them included, you know, Major and Liv. Then there's the whole situation of, like, you know, Liv's dealing with the whole ramification of, like, okay, you know, Major's gone, Michelle's there to check on her and everything, and then there was a suicide bomber in there. I'm like, what the hell? Then we get it. 10 years later, I'm like, what? Then it's like, in San Francisco, we have Dale and Clive. They're both dual captains and stuff like that. That's kind of cute. Both working together. And then there's like a virtual interview that's basically about to happen. We see Ravi, we see Peyton. I'm assuming, because of the cure and everything, that Ravi isn't a zombie anymore. Like, because his thing is, he only turns into a zombie like once a month. So I'm wondering, like, I guess like the new cure would completely fix like what the other cure had kind of done to him. Regardless, and obviously Peyton, we see her kind of back to being a human as well, because it turned into a situation. I mean, based on what we heard from the interview, basically, yeah, there were some issues in Seattle, obviously, you know, but the fact of the matter is built back up. But with everything that went down, none of them could really be in Seattle anymore. Clive, like I said, is in San Francisco. We have Peyton, she's the DEA, and in Atlanta. But then it's also like, oh yeah, because Ravi's also the head of the CDC now and stuff like that, which are good. Him to kind of, you know, it's better that he's kind of in charge and everything. And I love it, because he was like, yeah, he's basically written books and stuff like that, but it's like, oh, you could just live off that success. But then Peyton was basically like, yeah, but he enjoys like all the people that work under him kind of like, oh my God, like fanning out about like, oh my God, you're so cool, Ravi, type of thing. Essentially, that's me paraphrasing, but I loved it. But then it comes to a question like, well, what about Liv? It's like, when that bombing happened, the police department crumbled on a morgue. So it's like, if she was in there, like, the fact of the matter is she'd be feral by now, even if she was managed to still be alive. It's like, what about Major? You know, because Dolly's apparently still alive. And I always think that's kind of an interesting thing when they do, where they basically making another comparison. It's like Teen Wolf. Monroe was alive at the end of Teen Wolf, so like the pseudo-main antagonist was still kind of running around doing her thing, hunting down the supernatural, and the same thing kind of applies in this case, where like Dolly's still out there hunting zombies. Like, there's always going to be those who are super against zombies and stuff like that. Major still got a target on his back. He's looking after all those kids, because those kids are our family and everything. But then like at the end, it's like Liv and him or me. It's like they're both seeing that each other's alive, and it's like, yes! My question answer too is like, at the end of it all, were they going to get back together? And lo and behold, they do. Because a big question I had coming at the end of this was like, okay, so when it's all said and done, will Liv take the cure or not? And obviously, like, you have Clive, Peyton, as well as Ravi, all keeping up the notion that they haven't been in contact with Liv. They don't even know if she's alive or not. The same thing for Major. But there's been, like, you know, sightings of Liv all over the place and stuff like that. But it's like, oh, she's a big enough celebrity, so people are going to see what they want to see. But we do see that basically they're living the life up, running with the family and everything. They say Zombie Island, so I'm sure they're referencing what the government had set up about the whole, like, because Major's plan was to basically get an island made, because that was the original idea anyway, was to kind of have an island specifically for zombies to kind of live free, because the cure is out there, but not every zombie took it. But now, because zombies aren't the apocalyptic thing that they are, that there is a cure, it's not an issue, so now they kind of get to live free without issue. The fact is, there's no, like, brain supplies are back on, so that probably cuts into Mr. Boss's business, especially because his business partner Donnie's gone. I am curious what that means for Fillmore Graves. I mean, especially now that Enzo's dead, like, Major's still alive, but still, like, maybe he shut the business down or whatever. I'm curious. Once again, because most of those people that were around, you can't really trust them anyway, because they're always going to be looking out for themselves of zombies. I don't know. Maybe they're working on the island or whatever. But I'm curious, is that place that Liv and Major is at, is that the island where zombies are, or are they on their own place? But whatever the case may be, it's beautiful that obviously the people that are like a family, the kids they brought in, whether it be like the Fralick kids, well, because they ended up leaving, didn't they? Because they didn't feel safe there anymore, so there's that. But all the zombie kids stayed behind, and they're looking after all of them, Because let's not forget, like, 2 of them is Jordan's brothers. So that's also the beauty of it too. And Oliver and his siblings, it's just like, because as zombies they can't have kids, but now it's like they got kids of their own, like they got their own little family, and it's just like, it's crazy to think about how far it's gone. Like, them being ex-fiancés to be, here they are, still zombies with their zombie kids. And just, I even love the joke of like, oh man, you guys are stuck in amber because Ravi's looking at just how good, Major looks, even though it's 10 years later. So that kind of makes me think, like I said, Ravi's whole thing, regardless, has to be trailing back. But it's like, oh, what if we could see each other all the time? All it would take is one scratch, and you guys could take a few free rides to Zombie Island. And it's just kind of like, yeah, but obviously they're not going to, but it is nice, to see that everything is good. They're not able to get together as much as they'd like to, because obviously they got to protect, where Liv and Major are. But like, I'm curious, is Liv still living up the whole, like, what's its face of the old, geez, I'm blanking, renegade thing. I wonder if she's still doing it. I like to think she is, that she doesn't walk away from that situation. I think it's kind of nice that this all happened. Let's not forget, she also had like a big, resolution with her mom and her brother. Like, that was kind of nice as well. She's a big hero of the family. Like, her celebrity has grown to mythological standards now too. She, the myth and the legend, it's so dope. This was actually a very kind of like sad in many different regards, just like everything that's led up to this, the deaths have led up to this, to see, but at the end of it all, like, it's beautiful to see that, I don't know, everything works out. Oh my God, I almost forgot, like, Clive named his daughter Olivia, of course. And they have a son named Jacob. That's Michelle's kid. And apparently, like, her second cousin has come out to woodworks to try and claim. I guess maybe there was like a life insurance policy on Michelle, which is kind of even more depressing. Be like, oh man, Michelle didn't make it. Because the whole question, because that wasn't really Clive's baby, but he took responsibility. He was there for it. And it's like, oh, in memorial of her, it's like, of course we're going to take her child in and raise him as our own, and that's kind of sad, I guess there must be like a life insurance policy or something that they're like, this family member is trying to come and claim, or maybe like by taking the Jacob in as a dependent, they make money. I'm curious about that, but he's part of a loving family, and just it's so great, dude. Like I said, I just love them also stepping a little bit into the future with the whole like virtual interview and stuff like that. It's really good. I'm very happy with what they did. I feel like there's some stuff you still want to know more about the world, but I think they did a good enough job giving you enough answers to be like, it's this, and that. You don't really have to see everything. Like, once again, what, Blaine and, Donnie's fate really ends up being. Because I was like, you could get them to take the cure and then they get locked up, but I doubt it. It's probably just, leave them down the well. Everyone will kind of forget about it. Maybe, depending, because obviously Seattle was still kind of chaotic, and who knows how long maybe they've talked about how long it takes to go Romero, but I don't remember. Regardless, like I said, it's that thing of like, oh, it's a series finale. And I kind of don't want to stop talking, but I think I've really said all I wanted to say. I mean, obviously, the whole thing of thank you to everyone that has been involved with this show. I still hold in high regards that this is one of, if not, no, it's the best zombie show you will find, because this show has so much love, care, and heart behind it, and it's just so good. From the heroes that you love to the villains you hate. I'm sad to see the show end, but at the same time, I'm so happy to see it have such a beautiful ending in a certain regard, you know? And to everyone a part of this show, I wish them the best in their future endeavors. This show will always have a special place in my heart for just being as amazing it is, you know? So I think that's it. All I really had to say about this. So till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.